Hey Joe, my husband and I are planning our big wedding. Any advice that you have for budgeting for this wedding? Well, if you really want my advice, I recommend eloping. That's what me and my wife did. We didn't really have a choice because it was during COVID, but it also saved us a lot of money and it allowed us to plan something later on to maybe enjoy those times differently. But weddings become one of the most expensive things, and if you're having to pay for it, then my answer is always going to go where are you in your budget currently on your personal finances, because when you create a discretionary budget for your discretionary expenses, you don't ever go outside that budget. And so if you haven't started budgeting, the best thing to do is to pay the least amount of money for a wedding. A wedding is really tough because it's a very, very important part of our lives. But so many people overspend on weddings and they take on all this extra debt that they put on a credit card and then they pay interest on it. And so this $30,000 to $40,000 wedding, if not higher than that, ends up turning into an $80,000 to $100,000 to $120,000 wedding at the end of the day. And believe it or not, there are weddings that cost people hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's credit card debt that they never are able to pay off because it accrues more interest and their minimum payment is the only thing they can afford. And so it gets really out of hand. I say all this because I want you to be really, really careful. It's important that if you have a budget already set up, that you don't go outside of your discretionary spending budget. That's why it's important to maybe put off the wedding until you can budget for it and you've already saved up that money. Saving up for a budget is way better, or saving up for a wedding is way better and the best choice versus trying to plan a wedding and you just don't know how you're going to pay for it. If you're asking for the question of how I budget for it, the answer is always going to be we got to get our finances in line first. We have to set up a budget, understand what our discretionary spending limits are, and then we're going to put money away for savings for our wedding. And that's going to take, if you're starting out today, it's going to take at least minimum a year, if not 2 years, depending on how much debt you have and how much your income is. And so there's a lot of factors that go into this. My advice for you is to plan a wedding after you've aligned your finances and you've structured a budget so that you can understand what you can afford. And so you're making good decisions, not emotional decisions. A wedding is one of the most emotional decisions that is made, where budget is thrown out the window. That and cars and homes are things that we spend money on and we make the biggest emotional decisions on instead of logical decisions based off the budget we set for ourselves. So we got to set up a budget. We have to ask our question, is it important that we do this wedding now? If we care about our finances and we care about our future, a wedding should be the thing that waits. And it's just the truth. So I hope that helps. Depending on where you are within your budget, it's kind of a complicated answer, but I hope that I gave you enough information to understand what steps you need to take next.